All right, I got a video here for a friend. Here's just a brief overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to go into fanboys a little bit more specifically with comma use, and then maybe expanding on the usage of non, and but fanboy words. We're going to go a little bit over singular and plural, misplaced modifier, dependent, independent clauses with the comma usage, and then talking about coordinating adjectives. So I'm going to start off with a couple little mini lessons, and then I'm just going to go through my friend's piece of writing and just kind of correct everything as I go. All right, so coordinating adjectives. It's when you have two adjectives describing a noun. And so the correct punctuation should go something like this. You have an adjective, then you have a comma, then you have a second adjective, and then the noun. The alternative is you can do adjective, the word and, a second adjective, and noun. So let's go over a couple examples. So Chance is a good, comma, smart writer. So writer is the noun, and good and smart are both adjectives to describe what kind of writer Chance is. You could also say the same exact thing. You could just say Chance is also a good and smart writer. So if you're ever in doubt on whether you need the comma or not, just ask yourself, could I say the same exact thing using the word and? And if you can, then you need to put the comma or you need to use the word and. John is a very bad writer. That's grammatically correct because the word very is an adverb, not an adjective. So since very is an adverb, John can't be a quote, very and bad writer. So, like I said, if you can't say the same thing using the adjective and the word and the adjective with a noun, then you do not need a comma. And the reason I don't have a comma in this one is, I already said, very is an adverb. Let's look at another one. Bryce loves long, interesting debates. Okay, so long and interesting are adjectives describing the debates that Bryce loves. So use a comma. Or you can use the word and. Like, for instance, he even likes long and uninteresting debates. So either way, you could remove that and put in a comma after long, and you could have it read, he even likes long, comma, interesting debates. So I think just thinking about that, can I use the word and in the same meaning? And that should solve your issue on whether you need to use a comma or not. And we will see at least one or two examples in your writing below. Another one, you had a couple misplaced modifiers. So the modifiers pretty much set the same idea as the adjective. You have information that's modifying something. And so I'm just going to go with some of these examples. Most people reading these examples would understand what the intention is, but the grammatic structure is saying something different. With my pajamas on, my cat looked ready for bed. So this with my pajamas on is modifying the sentence, and it's closest to the my cat. So it makes it seem like the cat is wearing my pajamas. So yeah, well, this one you just need to rearrange it somehow. So you could say, okay, I didn't really think about how to solve this one. Give me a second here. In fact, here, while I'm thinking, why don't you also think, how can you solve this first misplaced modifier? Yeah, I mean, you might just say something like, when I had my pajamas on, my cat looked ready for bed. So you just need a little more information. When I had my pajamas on, just make it clear that I'm wearing the pajamas and not the cat. Let's do the same with, well, I'll do the next two examples, and you can just pause and read them if you want. She handed out sandwiches to the children on paper plates. So because on paper plates is closest to children, grammatically, this is saying that the children are on the paper plates, which is not correct. So it should have said something along the lines of she handed out sandwiches on paper plates to the children. That's probably the easiest fix for that one. Let's do one more. I saw a dog riding a bike on my way to work. So same thing. I'm riding the bike. So you need to make that clear that I'm riding the bike and on my way to work, I saw a dog. You could just take that I saw a dog and you could just move that to the back of the sentence. And you could start the sentence on something along the lines of the sentence would start with riding a bike on my way to work. I saw a dog. And then it makes it clear that the riding my bike on my way to work is close, that would be closest to the pronoun I, and it makes sure that I am the one riding my bike on my way to work. Whereas right now, for the same explanations as the last ones, the riding a bike on my way to work is closest to the dog. So it's modifying the dog. Actually, let's take a look at the last two, or at least these two, because they're structured a little bit differently. Walking to the store, comma, the breeze felt refreshing. So this walking to the store is close to the breeze, which grammatically says that the breeze is walking to the store. So you just need to add who's walking to the store to this sentence. And this is the exact mistake that's going to be in the writing below. So walking to the store, comma, I felt or I felt the breeze and it was refreshing. So, something along those lines. You need to make sure that it's I or she or her or someone else, a person that's walking needs to be closer to this modifying information. So same thing here, same structure. Running down the street, comma, the houses pass by quickly. So this means that the houses are running down the street, which is not happening. So there's a person or an animal that's running down the street. And so you just need to make sure you include that information. Okay, so let's move on to the writing. I'm not going to read the entire piece. I'm just going to go through and explain the mistakes or the areas that I think could be cleaned up. So actually, let me take a quick detour here. It looks like I closed it. Okay. As I look at my dilapidated childhood home, there needs to be a comma here. We have a subordinate conjunction here, as, and so this comes first, which goes back to my structure. Let me go back to the very top again. So we have this structure. You have a dependent clause, comma, independent clause. So the order matters. If the dependent clause comes first, you need to have the dependent clause followed by a comma and then the independent clause. And then for whatever reason, it's arbitrary, but this is the way English has evolved. If you flip the order, you no longer need the comma. Independent clause and then dependent clause. You do not need the comma. So another way to fix this very first sentence here was you could just reorganize it. I realize how small it actually was as I look at my dilapidated childhood home. It sounds a bit funny because you're using a pronoun it, but you could just restructure that. So the order matters. So if the dependent clause comes first, you need the comma. This next sentence here, why don't you read it? You can pause it real quick, read it, and you can see if you can identify the issue. I'm giving you time to pause. All right, so you have a shack here. This is our noun. And then you have you have more than two words, but you have three bedroom. Actually, should probably be hyphened, and then single bath. So you have like you have two descriptions here. And so it should read that you have three bath, comma, sorry, three bedroom, comma, single bath shack. So that would be the correct punctuation there. All right, give me a second here because I need to see my notes. Whoops. Okay, yeah, sorry, this one wasn't clear. Okay, so I find a white foreclosure paperwork. So this is paperwork is plural, and when you use the article a, you're saying a white, so that's more that's singular. So you either need to say you either need to take out the a if it's more than one piece of paper, take out the A. I find white foreclosure paperwork on the front door. Or you need to just say, I find a white foreclosure paper. So yeah, just focus on singular versus plural. Let me get rid of some of these. All right. We talked about this a little bit. I'm going to skip that. Okay, so looking through the window, that's good. You have that comma. That's the correct comma. The wall my dad knocked down to put in an archway to access the kitchen is still up, so we haven't bought this place yet. So this is a bit wordy. So I suggest we switch it to looking through the window. Oh, actually, okay, so this is the misplaced modifier. You have looking through the window and then the wall. So grammatically, you're saying that the wall is looking through the window, which cannot happen. So you just need to add that you see. I see. Looking through the window, I see. And then I think it like I said, that's a bit wordy. So I would go with something more like looking through the window, I see that the wall my dad planned to knock down to put in an archway to access the kitchen is still up. So we haven't bought this place yet. And even that you might sound like is a lot. So, and you can maybe change it or reword it or maybe put in, make it into two sentences. But you definitely, I would at least take care of that misplaced modifier. Okay, so let's move on. Circling the peaking or circling the house peaking. Yeah, so you actually have two separate pieces of information there. Circling the house. Sorry, I put the comma wrong. So circling the house, comma, and then peeking through all the windows, comma. So you should have commas for both of those additional information. And then we have another misplaced modifier. So it's clear that the narrator is the one circling and peeking, but then the subject is there doesn't appear. So you need to adjust that. Circling the house, peeking through all the windows. I can't see any of the furniture or something along it. So yeah, so you just need to make sure that the the subject is the one doing the circling or peeking, or you need to just maybe cut this information and you can just leave out that you're either turn this part I just highlighted into its own sentence. I was circling and peeking through all the windows, period. And then you could just go with this next sentence. There doesn't appear to be any furniture. So that's how you can solve this first part, the misplaced modifier. And then the same sentence has another issue. There doesn't appear to be any furniture. So this right here is a comma splice. There doesn't appear to be any furniture is an independent clause. The house's only occupants are the Black Widows in the rest of the sentence. This is also an independent clause. You cannot put two independent clauses together with a comma. So you either need to do make these separate sentences or you can add a fanboy there. I think probably makes sense to have it be two separate sentences. All right, pine tree. Pine is a type of tree. It's not the proper noun of a tree, unless for some reason the tree, the large tree, you literally named pine. If that's the case, that's information's probably not really that relevant to your story. All right, this section here, this is so you have two ands here. So you could section these off as a series. So you have actually, so if you think about the sentence, this is a long sentence. So many games, so many wins and losses. So we have an and. So many times the family came out to the court smiling before picking teams and so and again. So you have four ands in this one sentence. So I would definitely get rid of some ands. You could probably just drop this one or make it a series as I said. Off the court, bruises and bloody lips. Yeah, so you could do something storming off the court with bruises, comma, bloody lips, comma. Yeah, okay, so you need parallelism. So yeah, actually the best way to do this, because you need to have parallel structure for your series, is go ahead and keep the first and. Coming off the court, it looks like you needed the word bruise probably with in here, another word in here, with bruises and bloody lips, and then you can just keep this information about bitter enemies. Oh, yeah, actually misspelled bitter too. It should be a T's. But bruises and bloody lips, comma, as bitter enemies. So that kind of fixes the wordiness, gets rid of at least one and. Okay, so here's another example of our dependent clause. When it was my turn to shoot, so that's a dependent, the win. The win is what makes it dependent on more information. So comma, she'd head back inside, promising that I could be magic another day that never came. So that's how you can, that one's just real simple. Or you could, yeah, so this one, the order of the sentence, definitely you need to start with the when it was my turn. It wouldn't make sense if you switch those. All right, and here's a good example of how it should go. So you have the when. This second part of the sentence is a dependent clause, and you didn't use a comma, which you shouldn't. So yeah, so you got it there. That's exactly how it goes. If you restructured the sentence, of course, if you had that part I just highlighted in the front, then you would need a comma after athletic prowess, and then but actually the sentence doesn't make a whole lot of sense either if you rearrange it. Okay, there's something that I noticed you keep doing. There shouldn't be a space after the quotation mark. It should just be the quotation and then the first letter of the first sentence. So I'm not sure if there's some reason you have for doing that, then that would be um that would be unconventional. And then here, I know that, so this is dialogue, but you should still punctuate the dialogue properly. And so you have a dependent clause. God spent it all on Becky. That's a, sorry, independent. So you have two independent clauses there. That's an independent clause. And then you have there was none left over. So you should have a period here. And then this little section here, after a few years, comma, we have another singular and plural issue with here. So it turned into rooms for whoever was the oldest. So it's unclear whether it's multiple rooms or just one room. I'm assuming based on the content below, it sounds like it's just one room. So it turned into, you could say a room for whoever was the oldest that still lived at home. So that solves that problem. If for some reason it was two rooms, then you could just then you should just add some information for some reason if it was two rooms. It turned into rooms for whoever were the two oldest, if that was the case. All right, here we have a long sentence. You'll see you have a fanboy, couple fanboys in here. So I'll just go ahead and highlight it to start with. And this should be this is a should have three independent clauses. So everyone was out of the house by the time I took up resident in the garage. So then it should be comma. But soon after brother Bryce got the boot from his uncle's place, comma. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, so it's definitely a bit awkward. So everyone was out of the house by the time I took up residence in the garage, comma. Ah, okay. So we need a few commas here. But soon after brother Bryce got the boot from his uncle's place, but soon after brother Bryce got the boot from his uncle's place, comma. Yeah, so you have after. So this is dependent. This makes this clause dependent. So it should be more comma, but soon, comma, after Bryce got the boot from his parents' place, comma, uncle's place, comma, and then take out this and. I think it probably makes more sense. Let me go back. Everyone was out of the house by the time I took up residence in the garage. I think this makes most sense being one sentence by itself. And then you're saying that soon after you got your own place, soon after, soon after, brother Bryce got the boot from his uncle's place. Yeah, so you could maybe put an and in there. And I got a next door neighbor. This is a bit abrupt because you're not talking at all about who the neighbor is. So next door neighbor means that maybe now that makes me think that maybe there is two rooms. So I think the readers are going to be confused with this section if they don't know you and the situation. So if there is two rooms, then you could go back up, change that section make it clear that there's two rooms there for the oldest two or maybe people over a certain age. And then you can make it clear that Bryce is the one moving into the second room. Okay, so these ones I'll highlight it one more time. I think you just need to figure out what you need to clarify exactly what it is. So let's move on since I don't quite know what it's supposed to be. Okay, so same thing here. You have and. Okay, no, sorry. This seems right. You finish circling and plop down on the concrete steps. Okay, actually, okay, this one's fine. Actually, you finish circling and you plop down. Okay, now I see. And you bet. Okay, so this one, so you have three things you're doing here. And since each of the so these series are a bit longer, I mean this is probably grammatically correct. Yeah, if you I'd have to think about this one a bit more. Um, in general, I'm not a huge fan of having multiple ands. If you wanted to make it a series, so you finish circling, plop down, comma. Yeah, I guess I would probably and Basque. So you have circling, or no, finish. Okay, so now actually, so this doesn't have parallelism either. So you have circling, but then you have plop and Basque. So I think the best thing to do would be to make this circle. I finish, I circle. Yeah, I would just cut out finish. I circle the vacant home, plop down on the concrete, and bask in the amazing surroundings. This has the parallelism. So verb, and verb in the same basic present structure. All right, let's go to the next one. I took it for granted. Okay, this is another one that you got correct. Here, let me get rid of some of these. So this is exactly right. So it's the same structure. I took it for granted when I was a young man. So this first part is all good. Now we do have an issue coming up here. You need a comma after nose, and same thing. You have the fanboy. So you need a comma here. And you need another, yeah, comma here, which, and then this kind of gets to a bit weird. Okay, so I take it for granted. I took it for granted when I had a young man's nose, but since my bout with COVID in 2020, comma, my capacity to take in deep aromas has been limited. Now this is fine. Yeah, so that's the subordinate conjunction. That's this section here. Yeah, so that's why we need that comma after the 2020. Since. So since a bout with COVID in 2020, this part is a dependent clause that's dependent on your capacity to take in the deep aromas. All right. So here's you got a couple options. So we have I whiff the odor of the wet leaves on the grass, the flowers from Miss Carney's bushes on the side of the house. So this is a series. And oh, okay, this one doesn't have parallel structure either. So you have I whiff, and then you have the flowers, and then a hint. So when people talk about parallelism, you have this series here, so it should have the same structure. It should be I whiff, um, I look, or so it should be like other things like that I do. So and then let me just finish with this. And a hint of sea breeze that the wind carries from the coast, and all simultaneously. So you're trying to say you're doing all of these things at one time. So I would move this word simultaneously. I simultaneously whiff the odor of the wet leaves on the grass. Now this is going to come in. Um, and now you're saying the flowers. Okay. So you're whiffing the odor, the flowers, and a hint of the sea breeze. Okay. You know what? Take back some of that stuff I said. I was this is all good now. Yeah, so the parallel structure was there. I made a mistake because I didn't make a very good note. So yeah, so here you have I you're whiffing all these things at the same time, and then the three things that you're whiffing, you have commas because it's a series, and you have the parallel structure. The odor, the flowers, and the sea breeze. So yeah, that's good. Here, you have another fanboy. So some of these, I think you could probably change. You're using just and but every single time. You might be overusing but as well. You might consider trying to find other ways to say but, or maybe to restructure some of these. But I felt a gentle peace fall over me. Okay, so this gentle peace is having an influence on what you do. So, comma, so, okay, because of the piece, you wonder about the awesome possibilities this adventure poses. So yeah, use some other fanboys. So, and then here we have another dependent clause. If I understand my position correctly, that's dependent, so you need a comma. And then this just same thing, you have a but here, so you need a comma there, and that's a complex compound sentence. That's fine. Now you do have two buts just in this paragraph. So you're talking about their own lives and their own realities, but I am in a different one. I'm in my 2024 life. The difference is the body I possess isn't completely mine, or it is mine, comma, but better, more whole. Actually, you know what? This might be fine. Wait, or it is mine, but better, more whole. And then kind of same thing. You have another fanboy, so you need that comma. And so yeah, so this structure you've kind of repeated a couple times now. You have three independent clauses, and you're just connecting them with the fanboys. So the beauty of adolescence begins to return, and I feel like a junkie, but I'm mainlining wonder. Yeah, so that's this one does sound a little bit awkward to me. I would maybe think about the connection between feeling like a junkie and the mainlining wonder, and maybe see about rewording that. And then here we have just a repeat of overwhelming, which also sounds awkward to me. The overwhelming blaze that is my curiosity is almost overwhelming. So you're here, you're saying the overwhelming, and now you're saying almost overwhelming. I would just find a different word. So the overwhelming blaze that is my curiosity is, and then figure out what it is. I would just make it a metaphor, or maybe just say something about your curiosity. My curiosity, and then just say that. So yeah, this one also sounds a bit awkward. Just think about what you want the reader to think about. And then same thing as before, we have another comma splice. So the first part of it is a complete sentence, independent. And then I feel 12 again is also a complete idea. So you need to add a fanboy in there, or you need to just make them two separate sentences. And since you're using the fanboys a decent amount, I would probably just make it two separate sentences. Or you can think about a way to use an dependent clause or something. I feel 12 again, comma, and it's the days of long hikes to Trail Creek. So Trail Creek is a proper noun, I think, to hunt for crawdads with cousin Mike. And then Schwinn, if you're talking about the bicycle, pretty sure it's spelled like that. Schwinn. And then unless the trail is called Powerline, if it is, then that's fine. I'm guessing it's probably not. And so the Powerline Trail is a description of the trail and not the proper name of the trail. So those ones should not be line, should not be capitalized. And then you have rednecks. Okay, the dad belongs to redneck, so you need an apostrophe there. And then you have the truck belongs to redneck's dad. So it's redneck's dad's truck. Or maybe, maybe this. Okay, if I'm wrong to assume this is a bike, then maybe you should clarify if that's the name of Redneck's dad's truck or something, then maybe just add that in somehow, or reword it. Okay, I think this is probably good. We talked a bit on the phone, and so I would just double check, with the order. You probably have it memorized by now. And then the structure here as well with the adjective, adjective, noun. And then consider trying to use the other fanboys: for, nor, or, yet. Some of your buts you could maybe use yet. And so. All right then. Until next time.